Thank you. I am so very happy to be here. Last night I arrived at the airport and my immigration officer said, "Oh, you're here for business. What are you here to do?" And he said, "Bullying prevention." Yes, a symposium for teachers and school personnel about how to solve this problem. And so then he said, "Well, how do you prevent bullying?" And the line is behind me, and I said, "Well, it's about creating a classroom and school climate that promotes belonging and connection for everybody and promotes problem solving rather than punishment." And he said, "Well, in my day, if someone was messing with you, you got your older brother to kick his ass, and that solved the problem just fine." And I said, "Well, maybe I'll give a shout out to kicking ass in my presentation. We'll see if that works." But then he said, "Well, do you have a minute for me to tell you a story?" And of course I said yes, because Canada was on the other side, and I had to go there. So I said, "Yes, I have a few minutes." Sure. But then he got a little bit, kind of angry and choked up, and he said, "When my son was in grade 6, someone was constantly harassing him and taunting him and belittling him, and he was a very studious, good boy, and this other boy was, of course, troubled and bothering him. And one day, the bully knocked his pencil box off his desk, and my son, in an emotional outburst, stood up and said, 'I'm going to kill you.' And because this was one of those lovely, well-intended but not very effective zero-tolerance policies, the child who said, 'I will kill you,' was severely punished. He was the victim of this ongoing harassment, was not permitted to attend his graduation, and the bully was. So you can imagine, we have tears in our eyes, we're standing in the immigration line, and I think it was a few years prior, he said, still, it stays with him, it still stays with me, and I was just amazed to have that story, upon my entry. But yeah, unfortunate zero-tolerance policies. They kind of miss the whole point, right, of what we're trying to do. So I have a lot of opportunities. I'd love to interact with you this morning, and I am going to write some of your comments on that white flip chart while I take some ideas from you, and then my friend is going to type them in French, I believe, to show here. It's just going to be little comments from you. But I want to start by asking you to connect with some of the feelings and thoughts that you have about children who are bullies. And I'm talking about our own personal emotional reactions, the not so pretty ones when we're not our most enlightened, highest self, what we feel and think about children who are cruel and harmful to others. Would you just shout out some of what those emotions and thoughts can be? Despair. Anger. Suffering. Yeah, suffering. Yes, we feel suffering.
Attention.
You think that they need attention? Yeah. Longing. And what else are your personal reactions to bullies? Do you understand what I'm asking? Your personal feelings and reactions. Could someone help me with? Okay, this is unjust. Yeah. Okay. Frustration. Yes, we're very frustrated with them. Do you ever kind of not like them?
Yes.
Right, dislike, maybe even disgust. These are human feelings that, good people like us can have when we're dealing with children who are behaving this way. So I will add dislike and disgust to the list. When we are in that frame of mind, that emotional space, we're feeling, I don't like this child, I am angry with this child, they are causing suffering and injustice in my classroom. What's their problem? Why can't they do the right thing? What kind of home do they come from? We're all of this emotional space. What are some of the interventions, if we can call them that, some of the discipline, teaching? What do we do? What do we do with children when we're feeling like this about them?
We isolate them.
Okay, we might isolate them. We might wish to exclude them from from what they're doing. Yes. So isolation. What else? Reprimand them. Yeah. That can take the form of a lecture and scolding. It can be yelling. Yes, someone said yelling. Okay. So when we're feeling this way, we might isolate, we might reprimand, we might yell. Anything else?
Understand.
Understand. Yes, hopefully the best of us do, but not when we're feeling dislike and anger and injustice. But yes, we're going to come to that next, exactly. When we're in this emotional space, it doesn't, yes? We possibly might even reject them. There's subtle and not so subtle ways that we absolutely can do that in our classroom. Okay. We blame them. They are causing the problems of some of the problems of our classroom.
And talk behind their backs in the teacher's room,
We talk behind their backs in the teacher's room. Yes. Can you believe what they're doing? What kind of parenting is going on over there? Right. We talk about them.
Shame them.
And we shame them. Absolutely.
We can also be impulsive. We become impulsive and make decisions quickly.
Yes, he said we become impulsive. We react quickly out of the emotion that we're feeling to try to get control of this problem or get this out of our environment, right? And we make some assumptions. Yes, thank you. Okay, now shift gears. And a student comes to you, one of your students, and says, oops, excuse me, I want to belong. I don't think I belong. I don't even know how to belong. What are some of the emotions you're feeling? Of course, no child has ever done this. We're pretending. We're pretending that a child might come to you and say this. What are you feeling when this child says, I want to belong and I don't, and I have no idea how to do it?
Pity.
Pity.
Sad.
Sad.
Ineffective.
Ineffective. Yes.
Caring.
Care. Yes, caring and compassion. What are some of the things you're thinking to yourself with a child who presents you with this problem? Yes.
I want to help this child.
I want to help. Right. So when we're feeling sadness, compassion, caring, and a desire to help, in general with children that we're feeling compassion and a desire to help, what do we do then?
We listen.
Okay. We're doing some listening. We ask questions. Yes. We observe. Not very impulsive to do some observing. Yeah.
We bring the community together.
And we might bring a community together. The possibilities really become so endless. Yes.
We share the information.
We share in.
So to find a solution.
Yeah. Okay. We share information and we're seeking a solution, she says. Right. So, of course, you know my point, and you know it because of our beautiful first speaker, that this is what's going on when children are, well, frankly, engaging in any misbehavior, and bullying in particular. It's a problem of belonging. It's a problem of a feeling of belonging and mattering. The program that I train with, called Positive Discipline, it is international. I don't know if we have any trainers in Canada. It's based in the psychology of Alfred Adler. Anybody by any chance read a book called Positive Discipline in the Classroom by Jane Nelson? Oh, one has. Oh, a couple have. Okay. So I'm really sort of in love with Alfred Adler and what he's offered us for our understanding of why people do what they do. And one of the things I really appreciate is something called the crucial C's, which are written on your handout. So I think I perhaps will not write on this one. That way I can walk around, and I'm just going to talk to you about them for a moment. So Adler claimed that children who have these crucial C's are, does everybody have handouts? Should be an English and a French version on every table. We have more if you need one. If you need another language or another handout, can you let me know? He needs a French copy, the translator does. Okay, so these crucial C's are what children must have in order to thrive. Children who have them are resourceful, cooperative, they're kind of able to develop into kind of wholehearted beings. And the first one is connection. Of course, we are wired for connection. This is a human need, and children who feel connected to the people in their lives, urgently important. We already heard the research behind that this morning. The second is feeling that they are capable, so essential for growing up, a feeling I can do stuff, I can figure problems out, I can learn and I can grow. The third being courage. The courage to try and take risks, to all the ways that we have to kind of step out where we're trying to grow and learn. And there's a reason the word courage is part of encouragement. When children experience encouragement from us, that they can try and do what they need to do. And then the last one is count, a feeling that I count and that I matter. Another way of distilling these, I think, is belonging and significance, which is another Adlerian concept, which, frankly, I believe it's what makes the world go round. Everything that we do, whether we're misbehaving, even as adults, or behaving positively, it's because of this drive to belong and to matter or to count, including what bullies do. So think for a moment about students that you know who have been bullies. How are they doing with the crucial C's? Anybody have any remark about what you've noticed? Yes.
Do you want to share what?
Sure.
Oh, but I wasn't sure if that was a question.
Oh, well, thank you for clarifying. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So the one teenage I think about is he's really impulsive. Thank you.
So the teenager I'm thinking about is really impulsive. So it's difficult for him to make friends and to keep them, and to express his feelings, and to be able to deal with his anger.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So for me, the litmus test for discipline and classroom climate is what we do when children misbehave. Does it increase a feeling of belonging and significance, or does it decrease it? And unfortunately, does a child have an opportunity to feel they can be courageous, they count, they can use all the crucial C's? And much of what we do in the face of misbehavior quite does the opposite. And that's true for all of us. While we're looking at these things that are not very helpful for children, I encourage us all to take a breath of self-compassion and know that we are all in the same boat. We have all done and said things in moments that have not been good for children, because it's hard to be in a classroom of children and have an agenda, and children push our buttons too. So we're all doing the best we can, but a lot of what we do does just the opposite of that. And I think that bully prevention is absolutely about creating classroom climates where everyone belongs and where we are modeling relationships in how we respond to children. And much traditional discipline, in my view, is adults bullying children. We heard the simple definition, right? One person has more power than the other, and they use that power to control or distress. That, to me, is a definition of punishment, and in an attempt to change people's behavior. And it creates more bullying in classrooms when they see that modeled. So I'd like to switch and share some thoughts about what we can do in classrooms that create this kind of crucial C environment so that everyone can be a part of things and reduce bullying as a cultural issue. The first concept is connect before correct. That really the relationship between the teacher and the student, this is the foundation of discipline completely. We can't apply discipline methods outside of that container and expect very positive results. That takes longer. I love our speaker's idea of connecting individually with children every day, and even solving problems with them does take more time than the simple, if you do this, this is what we will do to you, and then you will learn your lesson, and hopefully we'll get control of our classroom again. Without relationship, it doesn't create, and it doesn't save time either. In the moment, it saves time, but how many hundreds of times a day are we spinning that wheel and ending up with the same result? So investing in something different, I think, is quite worthwhile. I have a thought from what I said previously, if you don't mind me stepping back, about this belief that's in bullies and in all children about belonging. It is why belief modification is where the money is, not behavior modification. We should be spending our efforts on how do we change children's beliefs about themselves and how they fit into the world, not spending our time on how can we get them to act differently. It's not nearly as useful. So, connect before correct. I'd love to have some volunteers. Actually, I wouldn't just love to, I need them. I would appreciate 4 of you coming up here with me, and you're going to be students, and I'll tell you kind of what your problem is that I'm going to try to solve. And I'm just going to speak to each of you as a teacher in a round 1, and then I'm going to redo it in round 2 to illustrate some ways that we can connect before correct. So, if you would be willing to, just come right up with me. Don't all run at once, you might knock me over. That would be terrible. Thank you. Can I turn this off so it's not in our face?
I think you need boys in your room.
I do need boys in my classroom. This is not an all-girls school. I don't know how to turn it off. Okay. Francois.
Danusha.
Stephanie. I know you. Hi. All right. Francois, I cannot believe you are not done with this assignment. I have been telling you all morning to finish it. Now get to work. I just heard what you called the members of your group. It is not okay to call names in this classroom. It's unacceptable. We don't behave like that. Enough with the pushing in line. You go right here, go to the back of the line until you can learn. No. Back of the line until you can learn to walk nicely with your friends.
Come on, I'm going to tell my mom.
All right, I'm going to imagine that, let's see, what is something obnoxious Tara could have done to disrupt my class and make everybody laugh? Give me a real world possibility.
Farted.
Okay, she's making farting noises with her arm and her mouth in order to cause everyone to laugh, and it's completely ruining my lesson. So you can leave this room until you can, I'm trying to teach something here. You can leave. Okay. So that just rolls off my tongue so easily. I actually don't even have what to say written down. I just know how to be mean. Unfortunately, it's just something, it's so easy in the pressure of the moment to go there. So connect before correct. Let me try again. Now I went to my own class. I see this assignment is a hard one for you to finish. What's happening?
It was too long. I thought it was a bit boring.
It's funny, I had the same feeling about math when I was growing up. I was not very good at math, and I often found it was boring. So you have 5 problems left, Francois.
Mm-hmm.
What needs to happen for this to finish, for this to be done in the next 15 minutes? What do you imagine? What could we do?
I'd like a friend to help me out, perhaps. I don't know.
So maybe if this assignment lent itself to that, I would say, great idea. Let's pick someone Or maybe he would, I would say, I noticed that you're having so much fun with your friend, it seems like it's getting in the way, whatever. But you get the feeling of what I'm trying to say to him. You seem to be really frustrated with your group.
Yeah, I hate them.
I can't imagine trying to work in a group with people I hated.
Yeah.
That's a definite problem. I'd like to help you find a solution that doesn't include name calling and put downs. Would you be willing to be on my team for that?
I don't know if it's possible.
Okay. We're not going to go all the way to solving it, but you're getting the point of the thing. Very realistic, right? That could happen. I can see you really want to make sure you have your place in line.
Yes.
It's very important to you, isn't it? Stephanie, would you put your hands in your pockets?
I don't have
Or
any.
pretend you have pockets, please. How does that feel? You got your hands nice and cozy in there? Do you think you could walk all the way down the hall with them in your pockets?
Well, maybe. I'm gonna try.
If you did, you could keep your place in line, and because your friends wouldn't be pushed.
Okay.
Well, I'll walk nearby and we'll see how it works.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Or you can carry my books.
Oh, no.
Aha, another possibility that you could carry your books. All right, I'm going to do something, a little protocol for Connect Before Correct that's especially nice with older students. So this time when I walk with Tara over here, we're imagining I've stepped out of the classroom with her. And of course, when you step out of the classroom with a student, what are the rest of the students going? Oh, and they just can't wait to see how mad I am and how much trouble she's going to be in. And then we'll imagine what they're going to see afterwards instead. So she makes her fart noise. Tara, would you come out here with me, please? The first thing I want to say is I really enjoy having you in my classroom. In fact, I was telling my husband the other night, sometimes all eyes are on you. You have a sense of humor that can really light up the room, and it cracks me up sometimes.
Wow.
What happened in there?
I was really bored.
And what happened? What did you do?
I thought it'd be more fun to have fun.
What did you do exactly?
Kind of made a funny noise.
I heard it. What's your plan when we go back in?
Not to make the funny noise anymore,
That would work great for me. Can we shake on that?
but I'm still bored.
I understand. Do you think you could stick to your agreement of not making the noise again?
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate working with you. Let's head back in. Okay. All right. I love this little script. It's a I didn't write it on your handout. Step number 1, a connecting statement. Step number 2, what happened? Step number 3, what's your plan? Step number 4, can we shake on it? A connecting statement, what happened? What's your plan? Can we shake on it? Sometimes you can do it and only say those words as the teacher. And how are you feeling after we did that, Tara?
Much better. And really impressed that you like me.
It's really on her mind. First thing, what, you talked about me? Sometimes when I do this, the volunteer will say, I keep thinking about how you were talking about me to your husband. They feel so, valued and important, right? And so for the rest of my volunteers, I'm so appreciative to you. When I did this the first time, you remember what I said to you. What were you feeling and thinking then? Anybody?
Well, I was feeling like it's unjust, and I need to move, and I need to play, and I need to go fast, and she doesn't understand my needs.
This is unjust. She doesn't understand my needs. And you said mad.
I hate you too.
And I hate you. Mm-hmm.
Not this again.
Not this again. Right. All of my first attempts, remember, to get control and get this. And anything you're aware that you were feeling and thinking when I did round 2, what would that be?
Well, understood.
Understood,
Validated.
validated,
I was allowed to say what I thought.
allowed to say what I thought. And were you aware, even in the moment of the role play, how you were actually feeling about math, group work, or pushing in line, or what you were thinking about the problem and what you might do?
Yeah, but for me, I just wanted to do it more in the first time, you know,
Mhm.
and after that, okay, maybe I can be part of the solution.
Ah, felt like she was part of the solution the first time around, just wanted to do more. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, I was
starting to feel like you had some faith in me.
She felt I had some faith in her. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Yes.
So I have a question.
Yes.
With Tara, it was easy to connect with her because you had talked through the husband about her.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine that whatever you say as a connecting statement has to be true. That
Oh
you
boy,
won't
that's
make
so
up.
helpful.
So what could you give us some examples of connecting statements with children that we might have trouble connecting with?
That's so important, and I should have made the point at the beginning, right? They will know if I say like, you're real smart, or it's just nice joy to have you in my class, and it's not actually what I feel, that will be a pointless protocol of connect before correct. So true. And I do believe even the most difficult, unattractively behaved of children, there is, of course, something valid and a strength in them to find, but it can really be hard. So let me open that up to others. What do you see as a possibility? Something that you could say to, think of a difficult child in your class, and if you were going to make a connecting, encouraging statement to them that was real and honest, what would you say? Yes?
I like your hairdo today. You're wearing nice clothing. This is a new shirt. Wow.
Okay, possibly I like your hairdo, like your clothing. I would encourage you to also think deeper than that, just because appearance is just appearance, you know, but it's a good place to start. Yes.
I would observe at one specific point when student answered right answer and would participate and said, oh wow, I appreciate the time when you were listening and you were participating in matters.
Yes, so she would think of a time when they were participating or listening and recall that. The other day when we were in English, you raised your hand, and I think it took a lot of guts because sometimes this is a hard class for you. And that was brave. Or I saw the way you walked in line when we went to music. You know, yes. Another comment?
Appreciate that Carl came to you and speak just right now, and it's like it's not a fight like. You know what I'm saying?
When I asked you to come out of the classroom with me, you came. And that's at the most basic element. And I appreciate this opportunity to be here with you because, you know, you do matter to me. You're a part of this class. Even that. Yeah, thank you. Very nice. Any general comment or question about connect before correct? Okay. Oh, yes, thank you.
I'm not too good in English, but I'll try.
You're much better than I am at French, so I am immensely patient and appreciative. Thank you.
Sometime when we ask one of our students to step out of the class because his behavior is difficult for us to teach, sometimes the student has difficulty calming down. And when you have 20, 25 students in the class, and this one you have to step out to help him calm down. Sometimes it's difficult, and I think that teachers does not have enough tools to help them calm down so they can connect. Because I'm guessing that when the student they have to step out, it's because it's difficult to connect with them with all the students.
Yes. So she said some children, when you invite them out, well, ask them to step out of the classroom because there's a problem, they're having difficulty calming down. And that's related to difficulty connecting, and it's very hard to figure out how to proceed, and some teachers don't have very many tools to help children calm down. Did I summarize that properly? Yes, so true, and calming down regulation skills are primarily modeled by us. I wish I had time, I don't think I will at the end, but you could look for a video of Dan Siegel demonstrating something called the brain in the palm of the hand. That will teach you a lot about what happens to our brain when we are not in a calm, regulated state and how it completely disconnects the circuit that is involved in problem solving, perspective taking, even things like morality and intuition, all the high level things that we need are offline when we're in a heightened anxiety-ridden or stressed state. So there is no point in doing anything to problem solve or work with a child. Discipline, as you can be as wise or as forceful as you wish. Nothing will happen to a person whose lid has flipped, we call it, when they're in that heightened stressed state. So yes, we have to have ways in our classroom to help children calm down, and that would start with our own calmness, because our mirror neurons will cause that to help. And I believe in creating spaces in classroom where children can have regulated, calming stress times that children help create and would love to help create in little reflections about how does it feel when we're angry or anxious or stressed, and what helps you feel better, and what could we put in our classroom that would invite people to go when they need it. And I, as the teacher, think I will go sometimes too, because sometimes you get on my nerves and then I don't say nice things, so you're going to see me go too. That's, one possibility. But yes.
Just want to
30
share
minutes.
this, that in our school, I work in a big school on the South Shore, and we have a system put in place where it's called a planning room, where the student is allowed to leave the classroom with a note saying that he or she is going to the planning room, and that's where he or she, it's for behavior issues, and that's where he or she could calm down, and then you can later on have a little conference with the kid one-on-one or so. I had a situation where I had to have this student go out of my classroom, and I was really upset at the time, and I remember saying to him, you have to go to the planning room. But he, instead of going to the planning room, he hung around the classroom because he didn't really want to go there. He wanted to be in my classroom, but he was still too disruptive. So my colleague in the classroom adjoining, the one right beside mine, he had a spare that time, so his classroom was free. So he knocked on my door and he said, could you give me some work and I can have the student sit in my classroom and calm down and all that. I was still very upset, and I looked at the student and said, I can't even look at you right now. You slammed the door, you walked out, you slammed the door, you were rude to me. I can't even look at you. Go with Mr. So-and-so and calm down. So I had the class working, and then not even 5 minutes later, I went to see the student. And we started talking to him, and then I said, tell me, what's the reason? What's going on? You seem like you don't want to be in my class. What is this? And he said, no, miss, I'm like that in every class. I'm like that in every class. It's not you. So I was taking it personally, but he said, no. And I go, well, why? And he said, well, I'm bored. I'm bored in school. And then I started to relate to him, and I said, look, you have 5 years in this school. And if you're bored now, how are you going to make it to 7:45? And then a little light went off in his eyes, and I said, I wasn't really good at school when I was your age and all that, but I found something that I loved, which was sports, and I got involved in that. So you need to find something and if you want to talk, come see me. I'm available for you, and it worked out fine. I was really happy with that. Really. He's coming to school, now he's coming to class, smiling. I said, you draw very well, and I praised him, and showed him what he can do that I appreciate in class. Don't hang out with that group. If they're causing you to be disruptive, let's go. Sit here. If you want to,
Yes, that is just a beautiful summation of so many things that I have said and am yet to say about the power of connection and encouragement. And, who do we normally encourage? The sweet ones, the cooperative ones. You're so helpful. Thank you for helping your friend. Would you like to do this job for me? And the ones who, and of course, children need encouragement, like a plant needs water. But yes, the misbehaving, difficult ones, they are severely nutrient deprived of encouragement, and sometimes that alone. I have known classrooms where a problem child was cured by the teacher spending a few moments a day, greeting them, talking about what they did, sharing something from their own childhood, and that's not always a magic trick like that, but sometimes it can almost seem like a magic trick. And you're leading to something I'd like to talk about next, and that's the use of solutions, which it sounds like your planning room certainly is. Do you use timeout in Canada, by the way? So it's not just an American thing, yeah. Which in most cases is not very effective because it's just another version of get out of here until you can get right, then you can come back to me. That's usually some version of what timeout is, and not very helpful. But you're talking about something like the way sports teams use timeout. To rest, to have some refreshment, to make a new plan, to talk with your coach, to settle down, to regroup. It's useful. It's a life skill. It can be so useful. Yes?
One of the emerging practices in this area for the spiritual animators in schools is to have an oasis room in the school, which is an approach that's a bit more proactive, preventative. So we create a space where the students can come, and I do with my students breathing exercises, relaxation.
Wow.
Very, very simple meditation exercises. And it also is, at the high school level, a place where students who feel they don't have other places in the school, they can come hang out. We're now running out of room in one of the oases.
Wow. Did everyone hear that? Would you like me to repeat it? Did not hear it? His school has an oasis room where you can do simple meditation and breathing practices. It's like almost like a spiritual settling place to go, and they're running out of room because of how useful this is for everyone. Can we turn this back on? I may have you do some more typing for the next, unless it takes 5 minutes to warm up. I maybe should have thought of that. All right, I'd like you to think for a moment of a time in childhood when you were punished. Some of you, this will be very easy. Maybe some it will take a little longer. I don't know what kind of childhood if you were a goody-goody like me, which is just as problematic, by the way, as misbehaving. But so that maybe punished by an adult, a parent, or it could have been by a teacher. Everybody kind of have that in their mind. Now, I would like you, thinking of that, to share some of the feelings that you were having at the time of your punishment. One word, emotions. Okay, so this is unjust. What other emotions? One word emotions. Embarrassment. Someone said shame. Stung. Misunderstood. Vengeful. Yep, absolutely. Ostracized. All right. What were some of your thoughts? Something you were thinking at the time of your punishment?
Not again.
Not again. Why me? What was the last one? Go to hell. Yeah. And what were you deciding? Maybe a decision you were making about yourself, your punisher, or about what you might do next. No one was making any decisions about your behavior? Or?
Next time I'll do it better, I'll hide.
Next time I won't get caught. Yeah, next time I'll hide. Yeah, very common.
Revenge.
And I will get them back. Next time I will hide and revenge. Okay, that is very interesting. So I noticed none of you were thinking, I'd really like to be a better person. None of you were thinking, this behavior is counterproductive. And I am part of a community, so it's time for me to get my act together. And my teacher or my parent is my partner in doing so. No, of course, nothing like that. But that's what we were trying to make, I'm sure, the person who punished you and me, that's what they were trying to make happen, right? To change your behavior, to help you see that this is wrong. And the concept of punishment is if you do something wrong, we will give you an experience that's enough suffering, enough discomfort. You will hate it so much you will never want to do the wrong behavior again. it's just entirely ineffective because this is what's actually the result of punishment. It doesn't get to what we're really going for. And it very often creates more of the same, except there are some children, less in our modern world than there were when we were growing up or when our parents were growing up, who can be scared enough by punishment into compliance and are so concerned about not pleasing. And, we love the pleasers, but it's really unfortunate they're not headed for anything that worthwhile in life unless they learn not to please so much. But, all right. So, we kind of, times have changed and we're thinking a little more cooperatively. So, do you use reward systems in Canada like we do in the United States? I don't know how, the tide changed. We should be nicer and be more positive. So then there started to be reward system where you can earn candy or prizes or school money that you can buy things, or parents will give you M&Ms if you make your bed, things like that is what happens in the United States. Has anybody noticed any unwelcome side effects of using rewards, even though we mean well? Yes.
I noticed some teachers use star systems where there's a board put out, and this happens in very young grades. You get a green star if you're good, you get a yellow star if behavior's so-so, and you get a red star if you're bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of increases that peer pressure, but then you just ostracize the child who's labeled bad.
Okay, so some school systems have a star chart. We do traffic lights in the United States. Similarly, you have a red star if you're bad, a yellow star, you're kind of losing it, a green star if you're good, and it's up there publicly. Everyone sees what color you are, and it's meant to pressure you to do well, but she notices some ostracizing happening for the ones who are not. Other effects of rewards.
If there are no rewards, it ain't worth it. So you actually just work for the reward.
Yes, if you give a child a quarter to make their bed when they're 5, it's going to be $20 when they're in high school, right? It's only for the reward, or when the idea, of course, was they'll get so turned on to positive behavior, then later when we don't give them the reward, they'll just keep right on going, and that's not actually what happens at all. So they're not interested in the behavior, and pretty soon when you say, could you please file the homework papers for me? Oh, am I going to get a school buck for it? Am I going to get a candy for it? That's just the only thing that they're thinking about, right? And if you'd like to read more about that, if you haven't already, Alfie Kohn, ALFIEKOHN.com. He wrote a book called Punished by Rewards, which is a lot of research, but his website, you can find just some nice articles that he wrote that summarize some of what the research says about rewards. I'm also a fan of Dan Pink. He wrote a book called Drive. He's an American who wrote a book called Drive, and you could watch his TED Talk where he summarizes that even for adults, even in corporations, how reward systems and things like commissions are reducing buy-in, creativity, and collaboration. So they're not very helpful. Yes?
Well, it also reduces the real empathy because people are now good to each other just for the sake of being good and nice as a citizen, but to get something back.
Yes.
So there's no natural empathy, they're waiting for that.
Reduces real empathy, she said, because people are not doing things for the internal feeling of connection. They're doing it in order to get something. So, when we grew up, what else was there? It's really only punishment, and then there's just punishment and reward. There's not, we don't have many tools that don't include one of those two things. And what we teach in positive discipline that is so important to me is the use of solutions. And we don't really know that much about what they are. Again, we're not very familiar with them. So let's take an illustration. Let's imagine a child who is notoriously has a problem coming in on time from recess. So the teacher's calling the class in, and where is Johnny? Once again, he's making the whole class late. He's off picking up sticks or whatever he's doing and can't be found. And if we're thinking in the old mindset, kind of what are we going to do to Johnny to get this behavior to stop? And our tools are coming from like the punishment, reward, or even the consequences box. What are the things that we would do to a child like that?
Lose time at recess.
He would lose time at recess. Tomorrow you're not going to recess, or your recess is being cut in half. What else? You're going to stay after school. You're going to the principal's office. You're going to write 500 times, I will come in from recess on time. Or any others, anything. Now, if we're switching our focus to what is going on with Johnny and how are we going to help him come in from recess on time, what are some things that might help? Okay, so figuring out, right, our best solutions will come if we kind of get our hands around what's the cause, what's keeping Johnny from coming in on time. And then we could make a few guesses, but then what might we do that could be helpful, that could solve this problem?
A warning bell.
Okay, there could be a warning bell. Just call him out.
Make him line leader.
He could become the line leader. He could have a buddy who's super good at coming in on time and who will hear the warning bell, and they could work together to come in.
Class helper.
A class helper.
He can ring the bell.
He could bring the bell. He could be the bell ringer. Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes it's not about what he's doing, it's about what you're doing in the classroom as well. So if you want what motivates him to come to class in the first place, if you have something that motivates him to be on time, for example, starting class with something that he likes, you may attract him.
Okay, perhaps the activity that follows recess is so motivating and special to him, he might be more excited about coming in on time. He could borrow a stopwatch from the PE teacher, and it could set off an alarm. You know, we could go on and on.
It's just sometimes when we give a reason to be on time for class, and it's not legitimate. For example, you have to be on time because that's the rule, but then the first 10 minutes of class, the teacher is just looking around and doing some stuff and nothing's really going on. So those students pick up on that and say, what's the use of me being there on time when really there's no motivation right there? You don't need to be there on time. So sometimes there's how do you, your class management in the beginning of the classroom, is it worth being there on time or is it not worth? If it's not, those kids that are smarter, if I can say that, or very keen on not doing stuff for nothing, well, those are the ones that are going to be late.
You mean like us?
Yeah.
Like if you have a business meeting or a staff meeting and you know the first 10 minutes they're just going to be messing around anyway, so you decide to get some of your own things done and then show up. Yeah, they're kind of like us. Yeah. So these elements of solutions, what stands out to you are the big differences between the punishment reward category of intervention and the solution category? Yes.
Je parle français, je parle pas anglais. Si je mets l'accent sur l'élève qui est turbulent, qui fait beaucoup de choses que habituellement je vais chialer ou que je vais réprimander, comment je vais pouvoir retrouver l'assentiment de mes collègues qui vont dire pourquoi tu portes autant d'attention à ce petit jeune-là qui est rébarbatif, etc. Comment je vais pouvoir expliquer ça à mes collègues que je fais une bonne pratique puis que c'est ce que je dois faire pour bien faire ma job?
Who will translate for me? Or someone? Yeah.
Over there, you speak.
Someone can say in English? Okay.
What our colleague is saying is that if she's always reprimanding a certain student, she realized now that she should bring the pride and start making him feel like he belongs. How will she explain that to the rest of the staff who are going to tell her, why are you always with this kid who's so problematic? What are you doing? Why are you constantly trying to make things better? Because that happens in every staff group.
So if she's being supportive and patient with a problem student, there may be some pressure from colleagues. You know, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
I don't.
Also, her other message too was about how the other students would perceive it, because bad behavior is being rewarded.
Yes.
I think she's talking about both elements.
Students need a.
Les parents aussi, des enfants qui font bien la chose, comment je vais pouvoir avoir encore de la crédibilité auprès de ces parents-là?
She's talking about credibility with the parents of the kids that actually are behaving appropriately in
Yeah.
class. So it's a credibility issue on all levels.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the language help. Yes, we need to spend time with social emotional learning, setting up classrooms where children understand this is how we're operating as a culture, and they are all too willing to do it, but at first they're, this is how they want justice too, they want punishment. There's no worse punishment than when you ask children to pick out their own punishments. They're just indoctrinated, with this way of thinking. I am a huge fan of classroom meetings. I wish I had a whole day with you to train you about doing them, but you can read Positive Discipline in the Classroom, and there's other models of how to do them that create time in the school day where children are involved in learning about respect and their value to each other and encouraging each other, and even learning about how to solve problems, and then that will not be an issue for the other children in the class. Or even if you had a child complaining, I don't know, I can imagine saying to them, I'm trying something new. You could say the same thing to your colleagues in the break room. I went to a symposium. Would you like to see the research? You could answer that way. Or you can certainly say to children, I have this idea that when we misbehave, it's because we don't know how important we are and we don't know how to solve problems. So I'm going to try solving problems together instead. And then when it happens to you, the same thing's going to happen for you the next time you mess up. I don't think it's that hard for children to get. They just breathe, the sigh of relief. The research that we were shown this morning about how rarely children will go to teachers. Well, if this is our model of discipline, right? Would you? If your teacher's saying, who didn't put their name on this paper? This is a 0. Which one of you did it? And that happens, absolutely. So the next time you have a problem, is that who you're going to go to? No, don't show them any mistakes. Don't have any weakness or trouble around them. You'll be in big trouble. So, we have to create this. So back to solutions, these elements of solutions that differ them from other discipline models. Were you going to make a comment about how they're... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think usually with discipline you want it to be the same for everybody, but it sounds like with solutions it's very personalized.
Thank you. So one difference is that it's personalized. It's not the same, and that's because what's behind misbehavior is different. You cannot do your homework in order to get attention. You cannot do your homework to prove to your teacher she or he cannot boss you. You cannot do your homework to get your teacher back for embarrassing you in class the other day, and you cannot do your homework because you think you're stupid. So if we apply the same thing, we're not getting anywhere with those children. So yes, they're personalized. And what else are some differences that you think would make up the key elements of solutions from our example that we worked with?
Well, we see the needs underneath the behavior.
Yes, we see the needs underneath behavior. So they're helpful. The other is designed to make you pay. We don't get much when we make children pay for what they've done. So are we trying to make them pay, or are we trying to help? Solutions help. And they're collaborative in nature. They involve the child with us in listening, understanding, and thinking together about what will help. That is an aspect of healthy relationships. It's an aspect of developing life skills. And I think there's a timing difference. Punishment and reward is delivered after. Solutions are delivered proactively. We put them in place ahead of time in order to have some actual effect that can be useful. All right. How much time do I have?
7 minutes.
7 minutes. Let me just talk for maybe I can put a little bit of both of these in. Another tool that I appreciate is the use of questions instead of telling. Asking questions instead of telling. I feel like children are told what to do from the time they wake up in the morning until the time they, go to bed at night. And it's our most common, quickest way of trying to direct children. But it can be a wonderful tool for creating the kind of open classroom climate that we're talking about, using questions instead. I'm going to invite you to even close your eyes while I say a series of statements to you and then ask you how you're feeling hearing them. They're very common things we might say in a classroom, so you can just listen to me. Finish your work. Go get your jacket. It is time to pack up your things. Go do that now. Stop fighting with your friend. Go put your books in your locker. Hurry up and finish this snack. Stop whining. You need to clean up this table. Okay, you can open your eyes. What are you feeling and thinking? What?
Control.
You feel controlled?
Maternized.
Yes, like you're you're condescending or being kind of put down. Yes, thank you. Tired. And these weren't like angry, mean statements. These are just normal, things to say. Just when you have them, you already got 30 of them before you even arrived at school, right when you were home, right? And then you have even more. Okay, so let's try this again, if you can listen to me again. What do you need to do to finish this by the end of class? Whoops, what do you need if you don't want to be cold outside today? What's next in our routine? What can you and your friend do to solve this problem? Where do these books need to be now? What do you need to do to finish your snack by 10? What words can you use so I can hear you? What needs to be done to this table now that you're done? What does that feel like? You feel included? Empowered?
I feel like I already know the solution.
I already know the solution. Or maybe for the first time ever, you're going to think, hey, wait, what does need to be done to this table now that I'm done? So some wheels are turning in there, right? Yeah. Such a small, this is like the tiniest of little classroom management tools. And I'm not suggesting, oh, don't ever tell a child what to do or you'll scar them for life. That's not true, of course. There's moments to say, oh, we're 5 minutes late, pack up your things, or you have to tell sometimes. But we rely so much on it, and it's such a tiny shift that creates a feeling of ownership and learning in the classroom. So I'll just give that to you as a little tiny tool. And then the last thing I want to talk about is very quickly about how we respond to mistakes. I think this is just huge. How many of you believe mistakes are wonderful opportunities to learn? If you agree with me, would you raise your hand, please? So it's a pretty universal agreement. Good. So I'm assuming the last time you made a mistake, you had a warm, open feeling in your heart, and you thought, I cannot wait to see what I'll be learning next. I'm sure you did because you raised your hand. Or I'm sure the last time one of your students made a mistake, maybe it was even what we call kind of a stupid mistake, that you kind of got down on their level and said, baby, these things happen. That can be solved. Oh, we know it in our head, but not in our gut. And that's easy to figure out why, because you can reflect, like we did about punishment, of a time you made a mistake as a child, and what were the things that were said and done to you. You don't have to tell us what your mistake is, but what happened to us when we made mistakes when we grew up? You got yelled at. What else? Punished? Yep. You're such a disappointment. And we really do it to children. And when I imagine the possibility of classrooms where mistakes are, a whole new paradigm is applied to mistakes. I don't know, a bell is rung and you get to announce the learning that you had that day, or everyone shares their mistake of the day and what they learned from it, including the teacher. And when someone doesn't write their name on their paper, they say, good news, everyone. Somebody made a mistake. It's kind of like the one I made the other day when I left my lunch on the counter and I had to call my husband to bring it to me. Forgetting. It happens to all of us. Who had this one? Let's work as a class on how to remember, whatever. You see what I'm saying? Just a whole new opportunity, because we're really hard on children when they make mistakes. And it's a way of bullying inadvertently that doesn't create the kind of empowerment and the crucial C's that we need to create the classrooms I know that you want to create. So maybe we have a moment for a couple, see if there's any final comment or questions before they do their reflections. Is that the plan? Okay. Is there anything that you really want to ask or say before you do your reflection groups? Or you can do that in your smaller groups if that's better. Okay.
You said something about changing beliefs.
or changing behavior.
Yes.
I'm not sure I got your point.
Okay.
What do you?
We typically focus on behavior modification.
Yeah.
So how are we going to make this behavior stop? Limits us to a certain kind of interventions. But belief modification, if we're assuming that misbehavior comes from a belief about how I could belong or matter, and do I belong or matter? If we're thinking of how to create that experience in children, it changes behavior much more effectively than just thinking about their actions. All right, thank you for your participation, and I enjoyed it, and I believe you will share what they should do next. Okay.
Thank you so much.